What if the part of you that scares you the most is the part of you that can never be controlled? Most people spend their lives trying to outrun their darkness. They suppress it. They deny it. They pretend it doesn't exist. But Carl Jung warned us about this. He said the shadow is not evil. It is simply the part of you that you were taught to reject. Your anger, your hunger, your ambition, your jealousy, your raw instinct. Now imagine a person who stops running from that. Imagine someone who understands it, studies it, integrates it. That is no longer weakness. That is sovereignty. Tonight, we're exploring 4 zodiac signs whose shadow self is not fragile, not chaotic, not broken. It is controlled chaos. It is contained fire. It is a force so psychologically resilient that even symbolic darkness would struggle to manipulate it. This isn't about good versus evil. It's about power versus control. And these 4 signs, they are not easy to control. Let's begin. There's no avoiding Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, the archetype of death, rebirth, and psychological transformation. Scorpio does not fear intensity. They are drawn to it. But here's what most people misunderstand. Scorpio is not dark because they enjoy chaos. Scorpio is dark because they understand it, and understanding removes fear. The shadow of Scorpio is born from betrayal, from vulnerability, from the deep awareness that attachment creates leverage. Their opposite sign, Taurus, seeks comfort and stability. Scorpio's shadow rejects comfort because comfort can be taken away. So what does the Scorpio shadow do? It prepares, it studies, it anticipates, it detaches from what could be used against it. That's what makes it untouchable. A manipulative force thrives on predictability, on emotional reactions, on weakness. But Scorpio's shadow has already rehearsed the worst-case scenario in their mind. They have imagined the loss. They have processed the betrayal. They have felt the abandonment and survived it internally before it even happened. That psychological rehearsal creates armor, not arrogance, armor. And when pushed too far, Scorpio does not explode. They transform. They cut emotional cords without warning. They disappear from attachment. They become unreadable, and what cannot be read cannot be controlled. The Scorpio shadow is terrifying, not because it is cruel, but because it is immune to manipulation. It has made peace with destruction. And when you no longer fear destruction, you are no longer easily threatened. But we're just getting started, because the next sign hides its shadow behind softness. And that's what makes it even more dangerous. Cancer does not look dangerous. They look warm, safe, protective. Ruled by the moon, Cancer is the guardian of memory, emotion, and attachment. They feel everything, not lightly, not occasionally, but deeply. They absorb moods in a room. They sense shifts before words are spoken. And that sensitivity is exactly where their shadow begins. Because when you feel everything, you also feel betrayal more intensely, rejection more sharply, abandonment more personally. Cancer's opposite sign is Capricorn: structure, discipline, ambition, emotional containment. So when Cancer is hurt repeatedly, something shifts. The soft ocean begins to freeze. The nurturing instinct becomes strategic protection. And here is where their shadow becomes formidable. The Cancer shadow does not scream. It withdraws, it analyzes, it remembers every slight, every broken promise, every moment someone underestimated them. While others move on emotionally, Cancer stores data. That memory becomes pattern recognition, and pattern recognition becomes power. A force that feeds on emotional chaos expects tears, rage, dramatic collapse. But the evolved Cancer shadow offers none of that. Instead, it offers distance, silence, cold evaluation. It can turn off the emotional faucet that once flowed endlessly. And when Cancer shuts that door, it is not temporary. It is decisive. The most underestimated sign becomes the most strategically aware. Their shadow understands emotional leverage because they once gave it freely. Now they guard it fiercely. And what makes this shadow intimidating is not aggression. It is precision. Cancer does not attack randomly. They defend systematically. They build invisible walls. They choose who gets access. And once someone is removed from their inner circle, re-entry is nearly impossible. A manipulative presence thrives on emotional reaction. But Cancer's shadow can create an emotional void, a blank surface. No vulnerability to exploit, no chaos to amplify, just calm, measured disengagement. And that kind of stillness is difficult to destabilize. But the next sign hides their shadow behind a smile. And when that mask cracks, it does not freeze, it erupts. Libra is the diplomat, the peacemaker, the one who smooths tension before it escalates. Ruled by Venus, Libra values harmony, beauty, fairness, and balance. They are masters of reading a room. They instinctively know when something feels off, and they often step in to restore equilibrium. But here's the paradox. When you are always the one maintaining balance, you are also the one absorbing imbalance. Libra's opposite sign is Aries, raw impulse, direct aggression, unapologetic self-interest. Aries says, I want. Libra says, what's fair? Aries acts. Libra negotiates. But when Libra suppresses their own wants for too long, when they silence their own anger to preserve peace, that energy doesn't disappear. It accumulates. The Libra shadow is not passive, it is compressed force. It is it's fine that wasn't fine, every smile that covered resentment, every compromise that cost them more than they admitted. And when the scale tips too far, the explosion is shocking, because no one expects the peacemaker to become the disruptor. No one anticipates the graceful diplomat turning decisive and ruthless. But here's what makes Libra's shadow psychologically intimidating. It understands justice, not revenge, justice. Libra has studied both sides of every argument. They know weaknesses, they know inconsistencies, they know exactly where the imbalance lies. So when they finally act from their shadow, it is not random chaos, it is targeted correction. And that's unsettling. A force that thrives on predictability expects Aries to confront directly. But Libra's eruption is strategic. It is years of observation released in one calculated move. It is the quiet person in the room who suddenly speaks and dismantles the entire argument with precision. The Libra shadow doesn't just fight, it exposes. It reveals imbalance. It calls out hypocrisy. And because it has spent so long appearing agreeable, its power feels unexpected, almost destabilizing. This shadow is not uncontrolled rage, it is controlled fury. It is the breaking point of someone who tried too long to maintain peace at their own expense. And once Libra reclaims their suppressed assertion, they do not return to silent tolerance. They recalibrate, they integrate, they learn to say no. And someone who understands balance and no longer fears disrupting it is difficult to manipulate. But our final sign doesn't just suppress power, it shines so brightly that its shadow is almost invisible until it chooses to disappear. Leo is ruled by the sun, and the sun does not apologize for shining. Leos are known for charisma, confidence, warmth, and presence. They walk into a room and energy shifts, not because they demand attention, but because they radiate identity. Their greatest strength is visibility, but their greatest fear, insignificance. Leo's opposite sign is Aquarius, the collective mind, detachment, innovation, rebellion against ego hierarchy. And that's where Leo's shadow becomes fascinating. Most people assume Leo's shadow is arrogance, tyranny, drama, but that is only the immature version. The evolved Leo shadow is something far more destabilizing. It is the Leo who no longer needs applause, the Leo who no longer seeks validation, the Leo who realizes that true power doesn't require an audience. When Leo integrates their Aquarian opposite, something radical happens. They detach from personal glory, they stop performing, they stop chasing the spotlight, and instead, they choose purpose over praise. Now imagine trying to manipulate someone whose identity is no longer tied to recognition. You can't flatter them, you can't shame them, you can't threaten their reputation because they've already detached from it. That is the shadow that becomes untouchable. It's not the roaring lion, it's the lion that walks away from the throne voluntarily, the one who says, I don't need the crown. And once ego dissolves into mission, there is no leverage left. A force that thrives on ego temptation has nothing to offer. No seduction of fame, no promise of admiration, no bait of superiority, because the Leo shadow has already transcended it. This is the leader who fights not for recognition, but for meaning. This is the presence that cannot be bought. The warmth of Leo turns into focused, unwavering will, and that is intimidating. Not because it is loud, but because it is unshakable. Scorpio transforms fear. Cancer controls emotion. Libra reclaims suppressed fire. Leo transcends ego. But here is the truth. Every sign has a shadow. Every person has a shadow. The difference between vulnerability and power is not the absence of darkness. It is awareness. Carl Jung warned that what we do not confront within ourselves controls us from the unconscious. Your jealousy, your anger, your hunger for validation, your need for control, if you suppress it, it leaks out destructively. If you deny it, it sabotages you. But if you study it, if you understand it, if you integrate it, it becomes fuel. The signs we explored tonight symbolize psychological resilience, not invincibility. Resilience, the ability to look at the parts of yourself you were told were too much and realize they were never too much. They were just unmanaged power, and unmanaged power is dangerous. But managed power, that's sovereignty. So instead of asking, does my sign scare demons? Ask, what part of me have I been afraid to own? Because the shadow isn't your enemy, it's your untrained strength. And when you train it, when you integrate it, when you stop apologizing for it, you become far more difficult to manipulate. Not because you are dark, but because you are whole. If this deep dive into the shadow self resonated with you, let me know your sign in the comments. Have you ever felt your shadow take over? Or have you started learning how to integrate it? Like this video if you want more psychological zodiac breakdowns. Subscribe if you're ready to explore astrology beyond surface level traits. And remember, the goal isn't to eliminate your darkness, it's to understand it so well that nothing external can use it against you. Until next time, stay aware, stay balanced, and own every part of who you are.